can unanimously agree that fossil fuels and dirty forms of energy are having negative impacts on our planet. The problem we're facing as a species is what to use to fill that void. It's clear that our planet needs to find better ways to obtain energy. Because of pollution and running out of natural resources, it's time that we start focusing on better alternatives. The best and most efficient form of energy, without a doubt, is nuclear energy. Nuclear energy has the capacity for our needed growth, immensely safer than alternatives, and will do the least amount of harm to our planet. The reason we need to focus on this specifically rather than other renewable energies is quite simple. Other forms of energy are lacking crucial parts of our needs, from efficiency to taking up large portions of land. In just about every aspect, our planet is crying for a change regarding energy, and it's our job to protect the planet that we call home. Pollution is a major negative effect from the energy we use today. From the air we breathe to the water we drink, pollution is beginning to poison every aspect of our lives and our environment. This pollution is entering the environment in two main ways. From exhaust fumes from burning fossil fuels or from dumping toxic waste into our lakes and oceans. While there is ways to reduce the amounts of pollution coming from these, there is no way to completely eliminate it. Other forms of energy production require huge amounts of natural resources. Mining for these resources alone has huge impacts on our environment. And on top of that, those resources are beginning to deplete. While currently nuclear energy uses uranium, another non-renewable resource, there's already studies going into finding new fuels. With the uranium we still have on the planet, we have enough energy to solely last for centuries or even millenniums. And a study done by the United States Department of Energy, if all the waste from the past 60 years of nuclear energy was to put all together, it would take up less field than a single football field. In comparison to coal, that's less toxic waste than one day at a single plant. There are other forms of renewable energy that do a relatively good job at producing energy, but they all lack reliability. With nuclear energy, this is far from the case, because all factors of nuclear energy are within the control of the operators. From having the needed materials to operating 24/7, nuclear energy never lacks in reliability and always has a good output. And another study done by the United States Department of Energy shows that nuclear energy runs at 92% of maximum output year-round, while wind and solar are both under 40%. The best form of energy that will not only meet our needs but absolutely dominate is nuclear energy. What is the number one thing that we need from energy production? Energy. And what makes most energy? Nuclear, by a long shot. By a very huge margin. And how much, if you were to compare an equal amount of coal and uranium put into these plants, the difference is 8,000 times. And on top of that, uranium leads to 99% less carbon emissions. Each year, the global energy consumption around the world increased at a rate of 3.1%. And with the current amount of power plants worldwide sitting at over 60,000, it's time to react differently than just building more. If we were to switch solely to nuclear energy worldwide, that number of 60,000 could be brought down all the way to 14,000. And that's without any advances in future technology. To add on to the immense energy output, the room for growth is incredibly high. With new advancements coming towards nuclear energy, it's become even clearer that we need to make the switch. The newest form of nuclear energy, known as fusion energy, does the opposite process of creating energy and has a way larger output. 4 times larger than the already high output, can convert those 14,000 power plants that we discussed before and have enough energy for almost forever. While there are several different ways to obtain energy, each one is in many ways inferior to the greatness of nuclear energy. Here are several examples of other forms and why nuclear is a far better choice. Solar energy. Very unreliable, and it requires elements that are out of our control. Without proper sunlight, a factor out of our control, it's not very reliable. And on top of that, the infrastructure and space taken up is far greater than nuclear energy. Wind energy. Very similar to solar energy, has a lot of the same problems. It's very unreliable, has factors out of our control, and takes a lot of infrastructure and land. On top of this, when deconstructing solar and wind energy, the resources left behind do not decompose. Another thing very harmful for the environment. Hydroelectricity. Due to the requirement of large amounts of flowing water to produce energy, there's a very finite number to how much energy can actually be produced from hydroelectricity. For the needed growth for our increasing society and energy consumption, nuclear energy is a far better option. Geothermal energy. This one, seeming to be the best of all other alternatives, simply does not have enough capacity for the needs. This would work great on a small scale and in residential areas, but for all energy consumption around the world, this is far from enough. And lastly, all fossil fuels, including coal, natural gas, and oil. Without even saying, we could all have reasons for why we shouldn't use this, but the main one being pollution. We're not only going to have pollution, but we're also going to run out of them, and in the process, we're going to pollute our air, water, and planet as a whole. For all of these reasons, we need to switch to nuclear energy. There's so many reasons and examples to prove that nuclear energy is and will be the future. It's not only the best option, but it will soon become the only option. The beginning of the problem with our world's energy supply is the negative effects from current energy sources and mainly pollution. On top of that, we need an efficient and reliable source with plenty of room for growth with our growing consumption of energy. For all of these reasons, it's a must that the world begins to switch to nuclear energy because it is by far the best option and is superior to all other alternatives.
Bro, by a long shot almost got me. What do we need?